Hello and welcome to my home practice tutorial number 9. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to build sequences using the peak pose method from the cards. I'm going to show you how to use the cards. So you can go back to the other tutorials where I go more specifically into how to get comfortable with transitioning and flowing through your practice. And here we're going to get a little bit more specific about you pick a pose that you feel will really benefit you, or a pose that just you're curious to try, or one of your favourite poses, and then you work out from the actual card symbols what parts of the body need to be warmed up to feel the best in that pose, so that the body is ready. You're kind of gradually building blueprints in your body to help it get the most out of your peak pose. Okay, so now for this practice I'm going to come onto my mat and I'm going to pick a peak pose that I want to build my whole practice around. So today I'm kind of feeling like I want to explore Warrior 2, a pose that we come into so many times, but do you really understand the different muscular actions of Warrior 2 and what poses will help you to build up towards a really lovely version of your Warrior 2. So I've got my Warrior 2 there, that's what I'm building my practice around. I am going to have my benefits list there, just always linking in with what you might need for each individual practice, what your mood is, what your energy levels are, what the rest of your day is going to be like, are you going to be sitting, are you going to be standing, and just building your practice up to help you for your entire day, not just for your time on the mat, so that it's more incorporated into your life and it's really helping you to get the most out of your day. Then I have the sample peak pose sequence there just to help me to work out first line warm up, second lines, and this is all kind of poses that are linking in towards my warrior, and then I come into my warrior. You can also take loads of different rounds of warrior with a longer sequence and just see how it feels, as you get further into your practice. Can you feel a little bit more opening, or the effect that adding poses in before you take your warrior have on your practice. Then I also have my sun salutation C there, just to have it handy for when I'm going to flow. You have two ways of flowing. You either flow through a sun salutation, which I practiced, or which I go through in tutorial 7, or we just start at the top of our mat and link the poses together through mini flows or through downward dog and tadasana, which I go through all that in my other tutorials. So I'm also going to have a read at the back of the card so I know what the alignment cues are for Warrior 2. You can do that for any of the poses when you have them all laid out on the ground in front of you. If there's a pose that you have out in front of you and you just can't quite remember where the position of the foot is or what you're supposed to be doing with the arms or the spine, you just pick up the card, have a read at the back, pop it back down again and continue with your practice. Right, so I have my Warrior 1 there and I see on this card that it's a standing pose. So I want to work out what muscles are working. So you see here at the back of this benefits list, you've got all the muscle groups. So just to quickly go through it, the Warrior 2 pose, you've got a shoulder, SH shoulder there, and it's got light blue and dark. So that means that it stretches and strengthens. So the light colour is stretching, the dark colour is strengthening. So the shoulders are being stretched because they're being opened up, but they're being strengthened because you're holding the weight of your arms there. Arms are also, they're being stretched and strengthened. Hip flexors, they're being strengthened on the front leg and they're being flexed. They're strengthened on the front leg and stretched on the back leg there. Glutes, so your buttocks muscles at the back of your hips there, they are being stretched a little bit on the front leg and they're being strengthened on that back leg there because you're really hugging them in. The inner groin is only being stretched because the legs are externally rotated. The quads, so the back of the legs there, are being stretched and strengthened. And then the hamstrings are being stretched, so stretched on the front leg there, and they're being strengthened on the back leg there, because the leg is straight. Okay, so that's how the warrior breaks down. Now you don't necessarily need to understand which leg is doing what, or which is strengthening, which is stretching. What's important for you is just to look at the symbols and simply to pick poses from your cards that have the same symbols on them. So you don't even need to know whether it's SH means shoulder. It just means that you are warming up that part of your body to get it ready for warrior two. So for example, in my warm-up, I might want to use cat pose because it has the SH with the two shades of the blue, green, greeny, blue, teal colour on it, okay? So that means that it's building, I've addressed the shoulders there, okay? And then you can go through it and see is there anything else as well that you've kind of worked with. So there's no other thing, do it, so you strengthen it. Okay, and then we might come into cat-cows. It's always good to warm up the spine. Then we might take, so you're going to take Tadasana out because it's always a good one to have out. We might take, where is it? We'll take out downward dog as well. This one here, gate pose. This is doing great things to prepare you towards warrior. You'll see the symbols. There's lots of similar symbols there to what you have on your warrior. So definitely adding that in. So add that in there. Then you've got your downward dog. And then chair pose, a great one for strengthening the glutes. Stretching and strengthening the shoulders, so you've got loads of similar things going on here as well. The arms are being stretched and strengthened, so you're strengthening the hamstrings, which you will need for your warrior two. Okay. And then you just go through the cards and just work out, possibly, maybe not every pose needs to address your warrior, but certainly adding a few of them in. So maybe just, I will add a few that I just simply want to get a bit of a flow going, and I know that all movement will help me build towards my peak pose. And also these lunges are great because they're going to be opening up my my inner groin and my hip flexors as well. Okay. This in as well. So that will be our first flow, say. And then let's start moving towards our peak pose. Maybe start with the peak pose, and then you can come into reverse warrior, and you might want to come into triangle next, and then you can come back to it. Now there's only one of those cards, but then come back into it several times through your practice to see what it feels like. Okay, you might take goddess pose, which is another great one for opening the groin, and then come back into your warrior again, and then do the other side. Okay, and then what am I looking for? Tree pose. So now that you've warmed up all these areas of the body, it's also nice to explore poses that have a similar anatomical blueprint as your peak pose after it as well, because you've really built up the area. So see, the leg is externally rotated there, it's externally rotated here, externally rotated here. So you might find a really lovely tree after you've done your warrior pose. Then we start to close it back off again. So when you've opened everything out, really the cool down is kind of when you've really opened everything. It's nice to just tuck yourself back in a little bit then. So this is always lovely to practice after this, because it's the external coming into the internal and then just squeezing it all together again. Okay, and then I think we're ready to come down to the ground after our practice. So to come down, we might just take a Asana is here. There we go. come down through Asana. Might take a nice forward fold, starting to cool the practice down a little bit. You might take a nice twist, or the Matsundrasana. Again, just a nice way to just reshape the body to the reverse of where it was before. It might feel nice to even do forward bend again. The legs out wide, now that we've done lots of inner groin opening there. And then maybe we'll come into a back bend. It's always nice to do maybe just one back bend through your practice. Okay, now there's so many different poses you can add there, just depending on your level of experience. So, you know, if you are a seasoned shoulder stander, you add that in there. Always taking it into fish pose afterwards, just to counteract anything on the neck. Or you can take your headstand. So this is where you would add your inversion in before you come into your Shavasana. Okay, I always love to just knees to chest for my Shavasana. Also nice to take a twist, and then Asana. Okay, so there is your full practice. And again, you take it all out and you kind of go, well, that's a lot. Maybe I want to do a shorter practice today. So you just take out a few poses. You might take out some of your standing poses. So probably the best place to reduce is to reduce the amount of standing flows that you're doing. What you could do is break that into separate little mini flows and run through a vinyasa, so coming down to the ground and taking a vinyasa in between the poses if you want to just take a pose, or actually just forgetting about Shavasana and coming into downward dog and then coming to the next one. If you don't want to link the poses, you want to take them individually, or you take them as a mini flow, just depending on what you feel like doing. Okay, coming down to the ground, you could take one forward fold, a twist, bridge, maybe today you feel like doing inversions, and then you just come into your closing. So there's, again, the same structure, but simplified. So maybe start big, take out loads of cards that you think are moving you towards your peak pose here. And then when you put it all out, get messy and then build. So I mean, I could have taken so many cards out and had them around the place there, and then taken some of them to start building up a warm up, a standing, a seated, and a relaxation for a particular peak pose. So that's how you build a sequence towards a peak pose. So that's how you build a peak pose sequence using the cards. Happy to answer any questions. You can catch me at yogaru.ie. You'll find loads of interesting articles on the website, yogaru.ie, that will help you as well to work out, if you go particularly into the pose breakdown section, in the pause section, you'll see loads of peak pose sequences, but most of the sequences that are up there will have a peak pose, but it might not be so obvious to you as it is in the peak pose sequences. Thank you for watching.